When Mississippi's Governor Haley Barbour realized the devastating impact of Hurricane Katrina, he knew that for better or worse, he had to be in charge.
Ronald Reagan used to have, when I worked in the White House, he had a credenza behind his desk and a plaque that said, "There is no limit to what a man can accomplish if it doesn't matter who gets the credit."
Barbour repeatedly credits the local authorities, Democrats and Republicans alike, first responders, volunteers, and the congressional delegation. Yet at the end of the day, he and Marsha Barbour were at the right place at the right time for Mississippi. Marsha was truly the heroine of the story. She hit the ground running before the winds died and became Haley's eyes and ears on the ground.
Haley had a wonderful staff, and they listened, and he listened every night. I've told him before, it's the only time he gave me his ears completely. But he was anxious to hear every day the stories and the needs and what might be done to make life somewhat easier.
Together, Marsha and Haley Barbour provided the leadership to help Mississippians pick up the broken pieces and begin rebuilding our beautiful state.
He said to so many people, "Stand with me," and his term was, "Let's hitch up our britches and roll up our sleeves and let's go get a job done. And don't worry about who gets credit, just get the job done." Haley never took credit for it, never. All he did was said, the governor of the state needs to be the leader of problems in the state.
Governor Barbour repeatedly visited Washington, working with local, state, and national leaders to tap into the resources needed to fuel the state's rebuilding program. In the end, Congress approved a $5.4 billion Katrina recovery package. Close to $1 billion in federal funds would be used to rebuild Hancock County. Nearly $737 million was used for elevation grants, small rental assistance, the neighborhood home program, workforce and public housing, tax credits, code enforcement, infrastructure, community revitalization, and homeowner assistance. Governor Barbour knew the key to Mississippi's recovery would be to help people rebuild their homes, get our children in school, and put our people back to work.
There were tens of thousands of houses on the coast that had no chance of being rebuilt until the federal government said, "We're going to step in because it was our fault. And if you relied on the federal government is going to do its share." And that's where we got billions of dollars that Thad Cochran, Trent Lott, Chip Pickering, the whole delegation, not just the Republicans, Roger Wicker, but the Democrats as well. Everybody worked together for this, but it would have been impossible to get the coast back started as fast as it was without that.
To develop a broad vision for South Mississippi, he created the Governor's Commission on Recovery, Rebuilding, and Renewal. Hancock County followed his lead and established a local commission chaired by CPA Chuck Benvenuti.
I think God had been preparing Haley Barbour for all of his life for the job to manage the recovery in Mississippi and the Gulf Coast after Katrina. When you look at his life experience working in D.C., when you look at the lobbying work, or when you look at dealing with all of the leadership in other states and across the nation, and his party, when you look at the relationships, when you look at his ability to delegate, his ability to work with good people, his ability to not micromanage, he was just the right person for the job. And we're all very blessed that the good Lord put him in that position at that point.
Barbour also knew that Hancock County would be the last to begin the rebuilding process. It was ground zero and hit the hardest. That's why the Mississippi Development Authority set aside millions of dollars for recovery projects in Hancock County, and MDA awarded $52 million in economic development projects. And Bay St. Louis, Waveland, and Hancock County received $304 million to support top long-term recovery, revitalization, infrastructure, and planning projects.
Got thousands and thousands of people back working in our tourist industry. You don't have hurricanes in a vacuum. You had a terrible recession after this one, and you had the BP oil spill after this one. And you look at the coast, and the coast is very healthy. But we still got a ways to go. You know, I used to say the test is 30 years from now, will our grandchildren look back and say the coast is better than it would have been if it hadn't have been Katrina? That we owe it to our grandchildren not to build the coast back like it was, but to build it back better than it ever had been, as good as it could be.
A decade in the making. So much was accomplished under the leadership of Haley Barbour, with Marsha by his side.
This is the worst natural disaster in American history, but it produced the greatest outpouring of philanthropy and volunteerism in American history.
Katrina didn't change the character and spirit of the people here. It simply allowed the world to see it and appreciate it. Governor Barbour will go down in history as one of Mississippi's most effective chief executives for his remarkable leadership in the devastating aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. For these reasons and many more, Marsha and Haley Barbour are Mississippi's Citizens of the Decade.